Hey everybody, welcome back to Theory Thursday. Last week we talked about the octave and how it exists in nature as a formula. We talked about 12-tone equal temperament and how the octave is divided into 12 equal parts. Today we're going to talk about triads, specifically the difference between major and minor triads. There are a couple of terms that we all need to understand in order for this lesson to make sense. The first one is octave. If you don't know what the octave is, go back and watch last week's video. The second term we all need to be on the same page with is the word chord. The word chord can mean any combination of two or more pitches. A triad is a specific type of chord that consists of only 3 pitches. That's why it's got the root word tri in it, okay? Meaning 3. Now, there are many different types of triads, but the most common types of triads are major and minor triads. And the difference between those two types of triads is more subtle than your ear thinks it is. Now, you might have heard major and minor before when talking about chords, and it's referring to whether or not the triad of that chord, because remember, a chord has more than 2 pitches, or 2 or more pitches, and a triad has 3 exactly. So you could have a chord with a triad inside of it, and that's normally what you have when someone talks about a guitar chord. For instance, this is a minor chord. It's called a minor chord because the root of the chord, or the base of the chord, the basis for that chord is a minor triad. And that chord's minor triad is E minor, which is E, G, B. Alright? It's this. That is the root minor triad of an E minor chord. So, when you say a chord is E minor, you're telling me that the only notes that can exist in that specific chord are those of the E minor triad. And if you play all the notes out, you'll see that indeed only E, G, and B exist in this chord. Now, those are all spaced apart by different octaves, okay? So this E and that E, they're the same note name but different pitches, spaced apart by 2 octaves. Likewise, this B and this B are the same note name. Here is an E major chord. Difference between those 2 chords is 1 note. Watch again. Here, you can see my fingers. E minor. E major. I'm putting 1 finger down. The difference is that I put 1 finger down on that note, and that note is G sharp. So let's review. The minor E triad is E, G, B, okay? The major E triad is E, G sharp, B. Now, this brings up a whole new conversation about what sharps and flats are and what they mean in terms of the scale. This week I want to focus on the difference between major and minor. The triad, we've already agreed, has 3 notes, right? The minor triad has 3 notes. The major triad has 3 notes. Because it's a triad, it only gets 3 notes. So they have the same number of notes. What's the difference? The difference is the position of the middle note. Now, there are a lot of people who will tell you that thinking about it this way is slower, but I've thought about it this way for my entire life, and I'm fine, okay? So, the middle note in the triad determines what kind of triad it is, whether it's major or minor, okay? If it is a minor triad, that middle note is slightly closer to the bottom note. If it's a major triad, the middle note is slightly further apart than from the bottom note, okay? Think about it this way. The spacing between the first 2 notes really determines whether it's major or minor. If we have more space, it's taller, think about it that way, so it's major. If it's less space, it's shorter, so we say it's minor. Now again, some people have an issue with the way of thinking about it that I do, but it's worked for me, okay? I have a degree in composition, so clearly it's not the incorrect way to think about it. Otherwise, I'd have figured that out by now. So let's talk about it in terms now of intervals. This is going to be fun. Do you remember the octave? It has 12 steps. You can also call that 1, 4, 7, because that's the amount of space between 3 notes. 1, 4, 7. The major triad, okay, the spacing, remember it's all about spacing. The spacing between those first 2 notes is 1, okay, 2, 3, 4. If it's a minor triad, the distance is 1 less. 1, 3, 7. That is such a subtle change. It's literally, that is the difference between major, minor, that is the difference. The spacing, right? If the root is here, minor, major. More space for major, less space for minor. So I hope that made sense today. I really can't simplify it any further. If you want more information on the difference between major and minor chords, Wikipedia actually has an amazing music theory library. Go check it out. During today's song, the song for today, I'm going to write a song that really switches only between major and minor on one chord, just to hammer that home. Now, a lot of people will say that minor sounds sad and major sounds happy, but that is a baked in societal tendency. There are plenty of societies where a minor sounding thing isn't sad, okay? So I would discourage you from thinking about major and minor that way. Really just think about it in terms of spacing. That's all it means.